My grandma always said the word hillbilly is something we could call each other within our family. But if an outsider ever called us that, well, then we had to punch him in the nose. Indeed. You see, to Appalachian mountain folk, the word hillbilly is a term of endearment, and it meant that you loved both the land and the people of Appalachia. It meant that these mountains were your home. Yet, over the years, many outsiders who are uneducated in the people of Appalachia have tried to turn the word hillbilly into a degrading insult. That meant you were uneducated and narrow-minded. So, just exactly how did this word get so twisted and misunderstood? Well, here's the story. The word hillbilly once had a very precise meaning. It's Scottish in origin, and to understand how it became a word, we have to travel back in time to Scotland during the late 1600s. You see, many Scots lived in the mountains away from the populated cities, and folks referred to them as hill folk. And the word billy meant that you were a comrade or a companion. Now, from 1688 to 1691 in Scotland, there was a huge war going on that claimed over 100,000 lives. Two kings were fighting for control over the Kingdom of Scotland. On the one hand, you had the Catholics who supported King James II, and on the other, you had the Protestants who supported King William III. Most of the hill folk supported King William, who was sometimes referred to by his nickname, Billy. Therefore, folks began referring to the hill folks that supported King William as hillbilly boys, and over time, that was shortened to hillbilly. Now, once all these Scots made the voyage across the ocean to America, they couldn't bring many possessions with them. For most of them, all they brought with them was their family, their name, and their culture. So they brought the nickname hillbilly with them, and naturally they fit in perfectly in their new home, the Appalachian Mountains. Heck, even their music was referred to as hillbilly music. So you see, these folks were proud to be called a hillbilly. These hillbillies remained mostly isolated in the Appalachian Mountains for the next 2 centuries. They worked the land, they loved their families. They were God-fearing folks that lived an honest and simple life. And they would help anyone who needed help. Meanwhile, the fast-paced life and the folks outside of Appalachia first learned of the word hillbilly around 1900. It's believed that it first appeared in print in the United States in 1900 in a New York Journal article describing a hillbilly as free and wild white citizen of Alabama who lives in the hills and has no means to speak of and dresses how he can and talks as he please and drinks whiskey every time he gets it and fires off his revolver anytime the fancy hits him. And so, just like that, the stereotype began. Folks visualized a hillbilly as a lanky, long-bearded white male with a battered slouch hat who lives in a cabin in the mountains with an outhouse out back. For these outsiders, a hillbilly toted a shotgun with a jug of moonshine and held little regard for the law, work, cleanliness, or book learning. He had loose morals and was decidedly dangerous. In the 1930s, this stereotype was solidified through the hillbilly characters of Paul Webb's Mountain Boy cartoons and Esquire magazine, Al Cap's Little Abner, and Billy DeBeck's Barney Google and Snuffy Smith. These characters and their Cartoon World annex forever etched the hillbilly stereotype into popular culture. Soon thereafter, television networks cashed in and further engraved the hillbilly image into American pop culture. Popular weekly television shows such as The Andy Griffith Show and The Beverly Hillbillies incorporated lovable backwoods characters blended with a touch of genuine mountain music. The Hee Haw Show was hosted by country music superstars Buck Owens and Roy Clark, and it embraced hillbilly antics and rural comedy for nearly 20 years, all the way up to the early 1990s. So you see, what you read in the paper and what you see on television isn't a true representation of what a hillbilly is. The hillbilly image of a hard-working man who loves his family and the mountains he lives in has been twisted and manipulated by the media. They succeeded in taking a cherished nickname and turning it into a form of slander and an insult. And they made lots of money doing it. Heck, they even stole hillbilly music. That's right. What we call country music today was actually hillbilly music all the way up till the 1950s. But that's a story for another day. The irony of all of the media's persistence to misrepresent what it means to be a hillbilly in Appalachia is that the stereotype of a hillbilly being the one that's uneducated, yet the reality is it's folks outside of Appalachia who are the ones who are uneducated on Appalachian life.